Welcome back to Teresa's Dead. My name is Theresa and I'm very much alive. I have an awful garbage filthy mouth, so viewer discretion is advised. But if you're not into that or weird shit in general, this is definitely not the place for you. Feel free to exit out the video here. No harm, no foul, but I'll remember our time fondly. Oh, my little pumpkins, am I excited for today's video. I finally got my Pat McGrath order. Now, did I purchase it the day it came out? You bet your fuzzy little ass I did. Did it arrive in a timely fashion? Absolutely not. Did I panic and think, oh man, I'm about to move in 3 weeks. Is this even going to arrive? Absolutely. In true Mama Pat fashion, this was sent via carrier pigeon, and I expected nothing less. Now in today's video, I'm only going to be talking about a portion of the Bridgerton collection, specifically the eyeshadow palette as well as the highlighter. Well, one of them anyway. In hindsight, I thought about potentially getting both highlighters, but I realized one of them is just not going to work for me. It's beautiful, but it's just something that is going to rot in my collection, and that's not cool. So in any case, let's see if I wasted my money or not. Let's start with the palette first.
Mothership Diamond of the First Water retails for $65. This limited edition palette presents a queen's ransom of 6 ultra regal colors. Shadows span an array of petal soft textures, including luminous satin eye blushes, sublime shimmers, mesmerizing metallics, and a diamond sparkle astral. These luxurious creamy powder formula combine weightless texture with intense color saturation, enticing a vivid variety of looks, ranging from everyday exquisite to ethereal extremes.
Now, I don't know about this show. I don't know anything about it, never saw an episode. All I know is what my lovely subscribers have mentioned, and it sounds like it's about a guy that cries too much and can't ejaculate in his wife because his dad was mad at him, or something to that effect. In any case, it sounds like a bucket of sad to me. So for $65, what are you getting besides a bucket of sad, apparently? For $65, this packaging is pretty much in line with the recent Pat McGrath 6-pan palettes. No longer do we have to suffer with the weird office envelope. Now we just have a simple cover. But the packaging of this is really, really beautiful. When you open it up, you get a nice quality mirror along with your 6-pan color story, which I will try not to blind you with. I have to say the pan embossings on some of the shades is absolutely stunning. Really, really beautiful. So since it's only 6 colors, let's break it down by color, and I'm going to start up here where I believe the shade is called Iconic Ingenue? Iconic Ingenue. I think that's how you say it. Hold please, computer.
Ingenue.
Okay, I was kind of close. Ingenue. Okay, I said Ingenue. All right, let's start with that one first. This shade is described as an opalescent champagne highlighter. This shade gives the inner corner a beautiful yet soft pop of highlight. I also used this shade on the inner portion of the lid, and while it does require to be built up to kind of notice it, again, it's like this really beautiful soft moment, but I find that it truly shines in the inner corner. Of course, you can use it as a brow highlight. It does not fucking interest me, so as an inner corner highlight, it's perfect. Now, the shade is pigmented upon initial application, but I find that it looks a little bit better once you build it up. Beyond that, it has excellent longevity, and I had no issues with the shade. The shade next to that one is Artist Swoon, and this is described as a luminous pink satin shade. So I primarily use this shade as like an all-over crease shade, and it's okay. This shade really isn't pigmented out of the gate. There is a fair amount of building up to try to match what it looks like in pan, and still then it's always just a little bit lighter than what it looks like in pan. But once you do build it up, it is fine. There is a slight sheen to this shade, which for me, I'm not a huge fan of. I just think it looks, I don't know, weird. I don't like satin shades. The other thing I want to note too is that because it's a pink shade, for someone like me, basically that resembles a bag of fucking flour, the 10-pound kind, this can give me the appearance that someone shit on my pillow. And then for the rest of the day, I have to say, no, I don't have pink eye. You know what I mean? Like, on really, really fair, uncooked chicken, it could look a little fucked up. Beyond that though, this has good longevity and blended fairly well with the other satin matte shade in this palette. The shade next to that one is Regency Blue, and this is described as an iridescent blue astral. The glitter bukkake is strong with this one, which I think is funny because the whole show is about someone who can't bukkake on his wife. But I digress. This shade adhered pretty well with some glitter glue, but I noticed that you get the same kind of payoff if you use your finger. If you do use your finger, you'll notice that there's a little bit of grit in the formula. It almost feels like sandpaper. It's not pleasant. This shade has decent longevity. It's just incredibly messy. I did experience some falling glitter bukkake throughout the day, and when it fell into the waterline, I did experience some mild irritation. And it's all due to those loose fucking particles wreaking havoc on my face. When used on its own, I feel like it's much more of an alien slut moment, because there is like this really beautiful icy blue look on the lid. It's very, very pretty. Now, when used over an existing shade, so for example, one of the looks that I created for today's video, I put it over Plum Regalia, which is like a plum taupe matte. And it's funny because when I first put it down, it initially leans very purple, but then once you build it up, you can definitely see it turn more icy blue, but there is a purple undertone to it. So while I appreciate that the shade does shift, the rough texture and the moments of Tinkerbell shitting all over my face made me really dislike this shade. Now this is funny because this is the shade that actually drew me to this palette. The rest of the palette's fine, albeit, you know, more on the dull side, but this is the one that was like really exciting. So was the shade worth purchasing this whole palette? No, not really. It's somewhat of a nice shade. There are, like I said, issues with it, but I think I could have just got a cool fucking single from an indie brand, saved myself a shitload of money, had a much more enjoyable experience and less bukkake. So yeah. Now, starting with the second row, you have the shade Plum Regalia. And this is described as a velvety plum taupe matte. This is the darkest shade in the palette. And I found this one to be incredibly pigmented and blendable. I just wish it was a bit darker, just like a scotch. Well, it does provide dimension for the palette. If it was a little bit darker, I think it would be absolutely perfect. That said, this shade blends beautifully with the rest of the palette. There is some kick up, there is a small amount of fallout, but I'm happy to say that the fallout is incredibly easy to clean. I also think this shade is truly stunning when it's all over the lid, especially when it's paired with Love Match. It's so pretty. It's a very beautiful gradient of like pink magenta into purple. It's very, very pretty. I also like the shade as a lash line shade as well. This shade also had good longevity, and I didn't notice any fading or balding throughout the day. The shade next to that one is called Duchess Divinity, and this is described as a platinum rose metallic. This metallic shade had little to no fallout or glitter bukkake, and it applied beautifully with glitter glue and a finger. It's incredibly pigmented, so you don't need to waste your time building it up. It looks absolutely fucking stunning, and I think it blends really beautiful with Plum Regalia. Those two shades in particular, absolutely fucking beautiful. And I'm happy to report that when you do use it with glitter glue, it doesn't emphasize any weird texture. It looks incredibly smooth and metallic on the eyelid. Love, love, love this shade. This one also had excellent longevity and probably my favorite shade out of the whole palette. Now the last shade in this palette is called Love Match, and this is described as a berry satin matte shade. And much like Artist Swoon, this does have a lighter pigmentation once initially applied, so you have to build it up to get a much more solid opacity. But again, much like Artist Swoon, it doesn't look as true in pan. The other thing I want to note too is when you are using it with Artist Swoon, they look eerily similar. So you really need to build up this shade just to provide like a tiny bit of dimension between the two, just to distinguish the two. Otherwise, they kind of blend into one big old mess. So yeah, it operated very similarly to Art of Swoon, which kind of means it wasn't really my favorite. It was just okay. You know, for $65, it was fine. It wasn't the best thing I've ever tried. It wasn't the worst thing. And I will say that I appreciate that this is a cool tone palette. Usually we are often inundated with a bunch of warm tone bullshit, so it's kind of nice to see a cool tone option every now and again, right? And it's really funny that the one thing about this particular palette, this one fucking shade that really drew me in, is the one shade that was more trouble than what it's worth. Personally, I think the Astral formula is just okay. Like, I don't know. I know it's kind of defined as, ooh, the special shades, but I think the more that I get familiar with Pat McGrath quality, it's like, it's not that fucking amazing. It's just okay. I think her multi-chrome is fucking fantastic, but this one, I don't like that grittiness to it. I feel like in a way, this Astral formula is kind of like a thirst trap for me. Like every time I see this on Instagram, I'm like, oh my God, I have to have it because the swatches look so fucking incredible. Or sometimes even when they have those weird greasy fucking videos that they normally have, I'm like, oh my God, like that looks like alien slut goodness. Like I need to have it. And then when I get it, I'm like, I just don't have the same results. It's like, I guess it's kind of like, you know, seeing a Big Mac on TV versus what you actually get in real life. I don't want this sad piece of fucking shoe leather, okay? Like I want this beautiful burger that I see, not whatever the fuck this is, you know what I mean? In any case, this shade has a really, really good amount of glitter bukkake, and it kind of gets a little annoying too. Like on this side of my eye, I feel like with the glitter glue, it definitely stuck in one area. While this one I was able to kind of blend it out. This one, it just like it's stuck. Like it's fucking cement trying to blend it out, and I feel like it looks a little fucked up, so whatever, it is what it is at this point. But going back to the rough texture of the shade and the mild irritation, it reminds me of the shade that was in the Divine Rose, the first palette. I remember having issues with that one, and that's what this one feels like for me. The other thing that I wasn't a fan of was these satin matte shades. I could have dealt without them because personally, I don't think they're as good as the matte formula. I hated that I needed to kind of go in and in and in just to get somewhat of like a really solid opacity, but still never really matching what it truly looks like in pan. I don't know, it's kind of irritating with those. And again, I'm not a fan of like light sheen in the crease area. For whatever reason, when I use these kind of like satiny, shimmery shades that are not quite a shimmer, it often emphasizes texture. And it looks like my little roast beef over here is really heavy, and I look like I have like a droopy eye. And I'm like, I don't have a droopy eye, but it feels like I have a droopy eye. I just don't like that particular formula for me. Ironically enough, I think the matte, metallic, and the highlight shade were the best things about this palette, but by no means, I don't think this was worth $65 at all. So yeah, not my favorite, not the worst either, but definitely you don't need to pick this up. And honestly, it's fine because you can't even get it anyway. So consider yourself lucky. The next product I want to talk about is the highlighter.
The Skin Fetish Sublime Skin Highlighter in Incandescent Gold 002 retails for $60. Indulgently creamy to the touch, yet silky soft in application, this crystalline gel powder becomes one with the skin, evoking for gilded glow from within while laying down a smoothing veil of multi-dimensional sparkle.
So for $60, the packaging looks somewhat similar to the holiday palette one, except I'll be honest, I think this looks really fucking ugly. I think when you compare it to the actual pan design, which feels like really beautiful and regal, the front of this just feels like so much of an afterthought. With that said, when you do open it up, you get a nice sized mirror here and you get your beautiful highlighter. I will actually insert a little photo here so you can see what the pan design actually looks like. It's fucking stunning. I am happy to report that this highlighter is exactly the same formula as my beloved holiday highlighter. I sincerely mean this when I say that the best products to come from Pat McGrath is their highlighters. Don't get me wrong, they make amazing things, but I think the true standout is the highlighter. Yes, they are fucking expensive, but they are worth every goddamn penny. The gel powder formula is just so like lightweight on the skin. It's the kind of highlighter that's incredibly pigmented. You don't need to keep going into the pan to build it up. I love that it melts into the skin, causing this really beautiful alien slut moment. I just think it's absolutely fucking stunning. The highlighter is definitely not for those that don't want to be noticed, you know what I mean? The difference between this and say the holiday highlighter is that this one is definitely a lighter gold, as opposed to the holiday highlighter that definitely has more of a peachiness to it. The other difference between the two shades is that you can see a little bit of the micro glitter in this one. There is a little bit of micro glitter in this one too, but I think because it's peachy, it blends in a little bit better. Because this is much more stark, right? You definitely see a little bit of glitter on top of it. The little micro glitters don't fly everywhere. They melt and buff beautifully into the skin, and they don't emphasize any texture. So I love that, yes, while there is a slight sparkle to it, it doesn't go all over the place. And it doesn't look like I have giant pieces of fucking craft glitter stuck to my face. I really sincerely wish that the Astral formula was similar to this formula. I think it would be amazing, but alas, it's not. This product also has excellent longevity, and this will definitely be buried with me in my motherfucking casket. I am waiting patiently for a white highlighter, and I hope Mother delivers that this year. In any case, if you were interested in checking out this collection, I think the only thing really worth checking out is the highlighter. Save yourself the heartache of the eyeshadow palette and just get the highlighter. Now let me know down below if you picked up this collection or you decided to skip out. Let me know because I love hearing from you. And with that said, I want to say thank you so much for watching. I truly appreciate it. As always, feel free to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, it's free, and hit that bell icon for notification of all my future posts. Follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Patreon, to all my beautiful, wonderful patron puppies. Thank you so much for keeping this delicious, disgusting, filthy, trashy, really filthy, really gross, but really, really glowy garbage boat afloat. I couldn't do without you, and I love your adorable little delicious faces. Just thank you for just being so sweet. If you want to know what's currently on my face, along with not where to get these products because they're currently unavailable, everything will be listed in the description box below. And I'll see you little pumpkins later. Bye.